All right, so if you've ever taken a look at the badges on your old Mercedes, W126 or 123 or what have you, they're probably kind of faded, or at least mine are anyway. So that's what they look like up close. And that's the normal badge. And then this one, this car has a service badge, 250,000 kilometers. It's supposed to be gold, at least I think it's supposed to be gold. This area here is back highlighted in sort of an off-white, and these points to the star are highlighted in off-white as well. And this circular portion around here is supposed to be in blue. All of that stuff's faded. This one, I think, is simply supposed to be silver with a little bit of off-white here inlaid in the star, and of course the blue in the wreath. So I thought to myself, you know what? Those things are kind of pricey. They're kind of expensive, so I thought maybe I'd try to just spruce them up myself and maybe do a mild restoration. So I have several different colors here to work with. I've got a Dupli-Color Sunburst Gold. I've got some gold wheel paint from Dupli-Color. I've got a blue here. That's a Ford color. And here's an acrylic enamel by Dupli-Color. And what I'm probably going to do is a test spray on a test surface to see which ones I want to use. And then this silver here, I think that's a pretty good fit. I suppose I could use Astral silver. What I'm talking about is the silver on the badge here. Possibly I could leave the silver alone, but I'm not sure. I'm assuming this badge is supposed to be all silver with a little bit of white there and blue around it. All right, so up next, I'm going to go ahead and pull the caps off and do a little test spray on a sample piece, and then just take a look at the colors and see which ones we want to use. So stand by. All right, we've got the badge off the car. It's just a 8mm. It comes right off. So we've got the this side over here is the Ford blue, and that is the Dupli-Color acrylic enamel. In this light, it looks sort of like the acrylic enamel might be a better fit. So in order to paint this thing, the current theory is get some goof-off paint remover and strip this thing down as best I can with just a rag and a little bit of the goof-off. And then we'll take some of the blue, put it in, just spray some down in the cap. We'll use an artist's brush to fill in the wreath around there. And then we'll wipe the excess off so that the raised letters can be seen in silver. And then we'll take the teeny weeny little bitty artist brush and do the best we can to get in there with the off-white. I've got some off-white over there in the cabinet. So that's the plan anyway. So right now though, I just wanted to see which blue seemed to be the best. And right now I'm thinking the Dupli-Color acrylic enamel is going to be the best. So, and when we're all done, we're going to coat this whole thing with 1K clear coat to weatherproof it. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get busy. All right, I've got some, I can't recall if this is goof off or if it's acetone. Might be acetone. I don't really know. And I'm going to see what we can do with this thing and see if that has any effect at removing that blue paint down in there. By golly, I think we're on the right track, folks. Shoot, yeah, that's working pretty good. You see right there where we've taken some of the blue out. We'll continue on in this way. I suppose a stiffer brush might be better. Maybe a fan. Holy cow, this stuff is kind of fumey. No need in hovering over that now, is it? I don't suppose it really is all that necessary to get it all off of there. If we get it most off, that'll be fine, I think. The reason I'm doing this is I looked around on the internet and looked at the prices for these badges. And I was like, okay, I think we're just going to try to paint the one we have. It looks like on the star, I don't know if that's paint or if it's some sort of glazing. Really couldn't tell you. I'm assuming this is an aluminum piece. And I was thinking to myself, well, I was going to paint it silver, but it's already silver. It doesn't have any silver coloring on it. Although this bumpy part in the middle, that textured part, that might have some sort of coloring on it. But then again, since I'm putting that acetone on it, if it was colored, it would be coming off. So I think I just answered my own question. Silly. Let's see how much of that off-white we can get off of that star. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. And the perfectionists out there going, oh my Lord, yes it does. It's Mercedes, it must be perfect. Okay. You just keep right on with that endeavor. Let me know how you turn out. I think that's good enough as far as coating removal. I suppose we could try to, let's just poke around a little bit here and see what that looks like. Actually, that's a lot easier. We just scrape that white coating off with the little pick tool here. There's 2, 4, 6 of these little recess places on this Mercedes star here. And that's what we have so far. We've got a good starting point, I think. I think maybe what I'm going to do next is, you can tell I'm making this up as I go along, right? I think I'm going to just get a buffing wheel to this, little buffing compound or something, and see if we can brighten it up, shine it up some, before we start the paint process. And let's give that a shot first and see what happens. All right, we've got a little bit of this white rouge here. Got a little buffing wheel on the drill press. Careful. All right, let's try to get in that middle part now. Of course, it turns it black. That's the, when the polishing stuff is doing its job, it's leaves behind a black residue. Let me wipe that off with a rag and we'll see what we got. All right, so I wiped away the black residue. It's got a nice sheen to it already. And I think we're ready to start putting some color down on this thing. So which should I do first? Should I do the off-white in the middle first? Or should I go for the blue wreath first? If I do the blue wreath first, I suppose there's a chance I could drip some white paint down in there. And that would be really annoying. So I think I'm going to go for the off-white sections here in the star first. All right, so let me go ahead and get set up. I need to go get my art brushes and locate my off-white paint. I think it's the same paint I used on the exterior of the RV, actually, but it is automotive exterior paint. So, all right, let's get started, and let's see how well we can do. All right, I've got stone white. I believe it's a Chrysler color. And I have a very small hobby brush. Teeny weeny. And I'm going to spray a little of this. Clearly this is not the proper way to do things. Applying spray paint with a brush is kind of silly. Initially I was thinking this thing would need to be painted silver. I don't think we need to do that. We just leave it in bare aluminum and it'll be fine. So this is where, you know, when they taught you to color between the lines when you were a little kid, you know, how well did you do, you know? You can't just get too crazy with this, right? because you have to ask yourself, do you go up to the front of a Mercedes and stick your nose right up against the emblem to check for imperfections? You have to leave yourself some perspective on all this. You know, do the best you can. Why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it for the challenge, to be honest. Getting a little bolder, I'm putting a little more paint on my brush. You know, I think that's good enough. So that's what we have. We got the off-white in the star there. All right, so up next we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to come in here with a little bit of a wider brush, and we're going to color the wreath around our 126 badge. So stick around, we'll be right back. All right, we've had a little time to dry, so that's what it's supposed to look like. This one appears to be golden color, but the one on my car appears to be just aluminum, or just bare aluminum, although we did polish it. We put some off-white here in the middle on the star, and now we're going to go ahead and do the blue around on the wreath on the exterior. So the blue will be between these two silverish walls. The wreath and the verbiage will be raised. So we're going to just get a little wider brush, I think, and then just paint over the verbiage and the wreath, and then let the blue sink down in there and then wipe off the excess. At least that's the theory anyway. I'll try a very small spot at first and see if we can make that technique work for us. If it does, great. If not, we'll back up and try something else. All right, we're going to go ahead with this blue that we got from Napa, I believe it was. It is called Royal Blue, and it's acrylic enamel. So let's load up our special paint receptacle. See how well this is going to work. Start right here on the B. How about that? And I'm just going to go right over the top of that B. Let's just dab it in there. And then, this may not work. Let's, yeah. Interesting. So I made it work, but the coloring is really, really light. So it may take multiple applications. I'm on the B there. You know, I wiped it off the top of the B. It seemed to work okay. Let's see. What I'm going to do is get a little more aggressive here, and I'm just going to fill that area with paint. Let's just rake our finger across it and see what happens. The cloth might be a little more. Might have a tendency to dig into the voids. Yeah, it does. I think the term I'm looking for is squeegee. A tiny little squeegee. You fill up the lower recesses around the wreath and the letters with the coloring, and then squeegee it off. I don't suppose anybody has a tiny little squeegee, do they? Probably not. I'm just going to get pretty aggressive here and just fill that void with this color. But I'm not going to do too much at one time. And I'm just going to use the old fingers there. And even the fingers dip down in there a little bit. So I'm filling up that void with this paint. Basically just dabbing a lot in there and just letting it run around. That looks pretty good, actually. And like I say, nobody's going to be looking at this thing close up, except for maybe you guys in a future video to see how well it held up. Now I'm going to get into the wreath part, which is the more intricate, and we're just going to go hog wild. And we're going to load that area with paint and just let it fill up. It's cold today in Alabama. It was, I don't know, it was about 22 or something, 22 Fahrenheit. So I went to one of my favorite big box places and picked up a new wick for the kerosene heater. And man, did that ever do the trick. We are doing well today. It's 56 here in the shop, according to the thermometer on the next to the door. And that is fine with me. Gonna have blue fingers tonight. Man, this is really working out well. Guys, I'm thinking this is gonna be cool, man. This is awesome. Let's fit in here. We're back to the B. That's where we started. And filling the B up. Now I guess if you let it dry, and then, you know, the bulk of it down inside, let it dry, and then come back and wipe off some of the, you know, the drippies, I suppose. Folks, can we cook or can we cook? Will you take a look at that? Look at our brand new W126 grill badge. That is just fantastic. I may not do anything else to that. I may just leave it alone and let that dry and just put it back on the car. Unbelievable. All right, well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and move on to the 250,000 kilometer service badge. All right, so this thing is affixed to the grill with these long all-thread, pieces of all-thread here. And looks like there's a rubber bushing there and a washer. You have this fairly thick, sort of an off-white coating. I don't know if it was supposed to be white, off-white, or what have you. We're going to use the off-white paint that I've got here, clearly. Yeah, that may be some sort of, oh, there it goes, it popped out there. That's really easy to pop out there. It's actually loose. And so, all right, that'll be easy. And this stuff up top is going to be, oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, just needed a little leverage. Oh, look at that. This is some sort of, that's kind of interesting. I guess it was a piece of plastic backing or something, maybe. You know, you could probably just buff this out and paint it and just not color it at all and put it back on the car. It'd probably look all right, but I think we can make this look really nice. I think up next I'm going to take this back over to the drill press and buff it for a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and load up our buffing wheel with some of this white rouge here. All right, so we've got that black residue left behind by the polishing process, but a little bit of acetone will get that right off of there. So let me go ahead and get my big brush here, a little acetone and a rag, and we'll wipe that off and we'll get that cleaned up, and then we'll start painting again. All right, we've got this thing cleaned up, a little acetone, and initially I was going to paint this thing gold, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to leave this alone. It's some sort of a chrome finish, chrome plating with a little bit of a, I don't know, brass, copper, goldish tinge to it. I'm assuming that's the way it was intended to be. I think what we're going to do here is go ahead and do the off-white in the star and do the blue here on the exterior, around the circle here, and do the off-white here around the 250K kilometer verbiage. One thing to note here, to get the excess blue out from these leaves, I just took the pick tool and kind of dug in there, and the blue just sort of chipped out. So that was kind of convenient. All right, so up next, I'm going to go ahead and start painting our service badge. So we'll be right back. All right, let's go ahead and load up our paint receptacle, otherwise known as a cap. And I'm just gonna dab that in there and let it run wherever it wants to. And let it run to the edge of this little, sort of like a little trough, really. Like that. Just the first go around. You see that off-white region right there? This white or off-white color is pretty thin. It seems to be thinner than the blue that I was using. Putting the paint on a little thicker and just dabbing in the other badge we were working on probably would have been a better method. But you always go to school on your first time out, right? I say it's off-white. It could have been brilliant white and just got dingy over the years. But I looked at some pictures online, and everything on the internet is true, right? So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I saw pictures on the internet. Got to be careful with the pictures you see on the internet. I hear that a lot of them are fake. All right, I think I'm going to do 2 coats at least, and then possibly 3. So I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to finish up the star, and then the next thing you see will be, we'll move on to the 250K service mileage here. We'll do that area next. All right, we got a little bigger brush here. We're just going to load this region up with this off-white paint and let it flow wherever it wants. And then come back in here and try to squeegee the top of these numbers off. But I'm going to try it now with my finger, because a human's fingers are some pretty cool things. A little acetone here for that. I'm sure my skin loves me. Yeah, that worked out. Yeah, there we go. We let it dry. We let it dry for a moment. I had the effervescence of acetone on the tip of my finger. And that seemed to work out pretty well, actually. I'm not sure if we're in focus or not, but yeah, there we go. Looks pretty good. LED lighting just makes everything look like crap. It's like, oh, yes, thank you very much. I would like every microscopic detail of my face lit up for the whole world to see. That's just fantastic. Cannot stand LED headlights. All right, let that dry for a moment, then we'll do the acetone to the fingertip trick, and we'll squeegee the color off the top of those numbers and letters. And then once we're done with the number, we'll move to the blue to do the exterior. Got my acetone rag here. I'm going to rake. See what you know, if your fingertip dips down inside the number, and then it grabs some of the paint and it pulls it up and rakes it across it, and then you got more work to do. A tiny, tiny piece of rubber or plastic here might be better for this, but I don't know. I tend to go straight for the easiest tool that's laying close to me. Most of the time it's a screwdriver. A flat blade screwdriver. The universal tool. Could be used as a hammer, pry bar, pointing device, screw picker-upper, you name it. You should only use the right tool for the right job. Well, you can just go jump in the lake. I don't really care what you think. It's my stuff, I'll do it however I want. We're done. Thank you. We're done. Gotta know when to hold 'em, when to stop painting, 'cause you'll screw it up in a heartbeat. Hey, that moves. You see that? I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that before. That moves. Okay, we're done. Done with that part now. Stop painting. All right, folks. I'm going to let that dry for a minute or two. Then it's off to the blue. And hopefully that won't take too long. All right, we got our acrylic enamel blue here, the royal blue. This is actually a really nice color. Loading up our cap here with color. And we're going to go ahead and fill up our region here. This is a pretty deep trough. I'm just going to dab this in there and let that paint just go where it wants to. And we'll do the squeegee method here a little bit at a time. Do this initial coat. We'll do one section and we'll do a squeegee. Do a finger squeegee. Put a little acetone on our rag over here. See how well that does for us. I think I'm going to let that dry a little longer before we do the squeegee. Let's move on and do another section. Now we're doing the section down here by this part where we put the white. So we're going to want to be careful here. Could probably just get away with not doing the finger squeegee and just let the color go wherever it wants to go. I'd kind of like to see the tops of the letters have that gold sheen to them though. All right, so let's go back over here to our first area where we started working, and yeah, there we go. That works better. Let it dry a little bit, and you come in there with your acetone encrusted finger and rub the color off the top of the wreath. See there, that wreath where I rubbed the color off? Looks pretty good. Just got to let it dry for a little bit first. I'm sure somebody's done this before. I just figured it'd be fun to try. All right, that section over there is a little bit too wet, so we'll let it dry some more. Let's go ahead and put a coat all the way around this thing now. I'm going to clear coat this with a 1K clear coat that I got from Paint Scratch. Same clear coat that we used on the rear window channel rust repair job. The never-ending series, part 16. I should have my head examined. All right, same deal. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry a little bit, and we'll take the top layer of that paint off to expose the letters, and I'll go back through it one more time, and we'll show you the results here in just a little bit, so stay tuned. All right, folks, there we have it. We're all done. We've got the blue inlay there done. We've got the white on the star and the white down here on the 256K service interval. And we have the, I put actually 3 coats of blue around this badge. And the tint or the tinge or the color seemed to come out a little different. I'm not sure why. I think the material that this badge is made out of is probably a little more porous. This one appears to have been chrome plated, and so the coloring appears to be a little bit different, but I don't think anybody will care. This color seems to match the badges that I've seen, the pictures on the internet. So, you know, I'm okay with the way it turned out. I think that's pretty doggone nice, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. And then here is the service interval badge. It's not perfect, but hey, you know what? It looks way better than it did before. All right, up next, we're going to let these guys dry overnight, and then we're going to get the 1K clear coat out from Paint Scratch, and we're going to give these guys 2 or 3 coats of that before we put them back on the car. So stick around. All right, here we are back at the mobile paint booth. We're going to go ahead and apply our 1K clear coat to our badges. We'll see how good of a job we can do. All right, easy does it, easy does it. All right, I'm gonna let that flash over. I'm gonna put 2 or 3 coats on here, and then we'll show you what it looks like when we're all done. Well, there you have it. We got 2 fairly well refurbished grill badges on our W126 Mercedes. We have the stock one that originally came with the car, and we have the center star with an off-white coloring, and we have the surround wreath with a nice blue. And if you stand back about 10 feet, you can't tell it was done by a rank amateur. All right, and then we have the 250,000 kilometer service badge, again with an off-white star in the middle and blue around the exterior with off-white surrounding the numbers down here below. All in all, I'd say it turned out fairly well. It's not perfect, but hey, you know what? When you sit back here, it looks fantastic. Hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy restoring your classic Mercedes.